The used SUV market is full of vehicles that look impressive in photographs, but become exhausting the moment you live with them. Some have narrow doors, oversized wheels, stiff suspensions, tiny rear windows, complicated turbocharged engines and cabins, controlled almost entirely through a touchscreen. Those features may look modern in a showroom, but they do not necessarily make a vehicle comfortable, dependable, or easy to own. For drivers over 60, the smartest SUV is often not the newest one or the one with the longest equipment list. It is the one you can enter without pulling yourself up by the steering wheel, see out of, without twisting your neck load, without lifting groceries to chest height, and maintain without fearing a five-figure repair. The 5 SUVs in this video have been largely overlooked because they are not fashionable anymore. That is exactly why they can be such good used car purchases. Each offers a different combination of accessibility, visibility, mechanical simplicity, cargo room, comfort, and long-term value. None is perfect, and choosing the correct model year matters. But a well-maintained example could be a far better retirement vehicle than an expensive new crossover packed with features you may never use. Starting at number 5 is the third-generation Toyota RAV4, sold in the United States from the mid-2000s through the 2012 model year. This generation does not attract much attention today because it looks simple, almost anonymous, especially beside the aggressively styled crossovers now filling dealership lots. But simplicity is one of its greatest strengths. The RAV4 is compact enough to park easily, tall enough to provide a useful seating position, and spacious enough for everyday errands, road trips, pets, gardening supplies, or visits from grandchildren. The dashboard is straightforward. The major controls are easy to identify, and the windows provide much better outward visibility than many newer SUVs with thick roof pillars and rising body lines. For an older driver, that means less guessing when changing lanes and fewer blind areas when backing out of a crowded parking space. The most desirable version for buyers who value smooth power is the available 3.5-liter V6. It gives the RAV4 much stronger acceleration than most compact SUVs of its time, which can be especially helpful when merging onto a highway or passing a slower vehicle. More importantly, it delivers that power without relying on a small turbocharger. The engine does not need to work particularly hard during normal driving, and it belongs to a widely used Toyota engine family found in several Toyota and Lexus products. That broad use generally helps with parts availability and mechanic familiarity. The 4-cylinder version can still make sense for buyers prioritizing fuel economy and lower purchase price, but service history becomes especially important. Some 4-cylinder examples from this era developed oil consumption concerns as mileage increased. That does not mean every 4-cylinder RAV4 should be rejected, but it does mean the oil level should be checked carefully before purchase and monitored during ownership. A vehicle that arrives for inspection with almost no oil on the dipstick is warning you about either neglect or consumption, and neither is something to ignore. There are several other details to inspect. The rear cargo door on this generation is hinged on the side rather than at the roof. Some owners like this because it does not require reaching overhead, but it needs space behind the vehicle to swing open. That can be inconvenient in a tight garage or parking space. Check whether the door opens smoothly, remains properly aligned, and closes without needing to be slammed. Test the air conditioning long enough to confirm that it stays cold. Listen for suspension noises over uneven pavement, and inspect underneath the vehicle for rust if it spent its life in an area where roads are heavily salted. Also, pay attention to the spare tire mounted on the rear door. Make sure the cover-mounting hardware and surrounding bodywork are secure. The RAV4 is best for someone who wants a manageable SUV with proven mechanical components, practical cargo space, and lower ownership complexity. It is not the quietest or most luxurious vehicle here, and the ride can feel firm over broken pavement. But it offers the kind of honest usefulness many new compact crossovers have complicated unnecessarily. At number 4 is the first-generation Mazda CX-5, particularly the naturally aspirated models from the earlier years of production. The CX-5 is a different kind of recommendation because its strongest advantage is not simply the engine or the price. It is the way the vehicle communicates with the driver. The steering is predictable, the body does not feel clumsy, and the seating position provides a good view without making the SUV feel excessively tall. Drivers moving out of a sedan often find the CX-5 easier to adapt to than a larger, heavier crossover. You gain a higher seat and more cargo room, but you do not feel as though you are piloting a delivery van through every parking lot. Visibility is another major benefit. Compared with many modern SUVs, the early CX-5 has relatively generous glass and a cabin that does not surround the driver with an unnecessarily high dashboard. That matters more as neck flexibility decreases. A backup camera is useful, but it should support good visibility rather than replace it. When you can see the corners of the vehicle, identify pedestrians more easily, and judge the distance to another car without relying entirely on sensors, everyday driving becomes less stressful. Early American market versions were offered with naturally aspirated Skyactiv 4-cylinder engines. Depending on the year and trim, buyers may encounter either a smaller 2.0-liter engine or the stronger 2.5-liter. The 2.0-liter can feel modest when the vehicle is fully loaded or climbing a long hill, while the 2.5-liter generally provides more relaxed performance. Neither turns the CX-5 into a sports car, but the 2.5-liter is usually the better fit for drivers who regularly travel on highways or carry passengers. These engines use direct fuel injection, so maintenance history still matters. Rough idle hesitation, warning lights, or evidence of extended oil change intervals should be taken seriously. The automatic transmission should shift smoothly when cold and after the vehicle has warmed up. During a test drive, accelerate gently, then more firmly, and pay attention to delayed engagement harsh shifts or unusual vibration. The electronics deserve close inspection as well. Test the infotainment screen control knob, Bluetooth connection audio system, backup camera, power windows, door locks, and every steering wheel button. Mechanical reliability is important, but replacing neglected electronics can quickly erase the savings of buying an older vehicle. Rust inspection is essential in northern states. Look beyond the visible body panels and examine the subframes, suspension mounting points, brake lines, exhaust system, and lower edges of the doors. The CX-5 also sits slightly lower than some of the other SUVs on this list. For many people, that creates an ideal step-in height. For someone with severe knee or hip limitations, it may still require more bending than expected. Do not judge from photographs. Sit in the driver's seat several times, get back out, and notice whether your knees, back, or shoulders feel strained. The correct seat height is personal. A vehicle that works perfectly for one driver may be uncomfortable for another person of the same age. The CX-5 is the best choice here for someone who wants excellent visibility, easy maneuverability, modern styling, and a driving experience that feels closer to a car than a large SUV. Its limitations include moderate rear seat space road noise on certain tires and less towing ability than the larger vehicles coming next. Number 3 is the first-generation Honda Pilot, and this is where the list becomes much more useful for drivers who regularly carry family members. The Pilot is larger than the RAV4 and CX-5, but it was designed before three-row SUVs became enormous rolling entertainment centers. It has a boxy shape, a wide cabin, large windows, and a third row that can be used when grandchildren or additional passengers need to come along. Fold the rear seats down, and the Pilot becomes a practical cargo vehicle for furniture, mobility equipment, luggage, home improvement supplies, or almost anything else that would overwhelm a compact SUV. Under the hood is Honda's 3.5-liter V6 from the J Series family. These engines can deliver a long service life, but the phrase Honda V6 should never be treated as permission to buy without inspection. The timing belt is one of the most important maintenance items. Unlike a timing chain that may remain in service for a very long period, the belt must be replaced according to the recommended interval. Because this is an interference engine, ignoring the belt can have catastrophic consequences. Ask for documentation showing when the timing belt tensioner and related components were replaced. A seller saying the previous owner probably did it is not documentation. If there is no proof budget for the service immediately, and include that cost in your purchase decision. Transmission behavior also deserves attention on older Honda SUVs. During the test drive, check how quickly the transmission engages when shifting from reverse to drive, whether it changes gears smoothly during light acceleration, and whether any shudder appears while cruising. Fluid condition and maintenance history are valuable clues, but a qualified pre-purchase inspection is still the safest approach. Another important consideration is cylinder deactivation technology. Depending on the year drivetrain and version, certain Honda V6 vehicles use systems designed to shut down cylinders under light loads to improve fuel economy. These systems became associated with oil consumption and drivability complaints on some later Honda applications. Rather than trying to memorize every possible combination while standing on a used car lot, verify the exact year drivetrain engine configuration and equipment using the vehicle identification number. The safest purchase is the example with the clearest service records, smoothest operation, and strongest inspection results, not simply the one wearing an all-wheel drive badge. The Pilot's driving position is upright, without being excessively high. The doors open generously, and the squared-off shape makes the vehicle easier to understand from behind the wheel. That is valuable when parking something larger. Its ride is generally comfortable, but worn suspension components can produce clunks looseness or uneven tire wear. Check the lower control arms, bushings, struts, wheel bearings, and power steering system. Test the rear climate controls, because a 3-row SUV is much less useful when the passengers in the back receive no heating or cooling. Look carefully for water intrusion around the rear cargo area, inspect the headliner, and check beneath the floor panels for moisture or corrosion. The Pilot is not the fuel economy champion of this group. A large V6, moving a 3-row all-wheel drive vehicle, will use considerably more gasoline than a 4-cylinder CX-5. But fuel economy is only one part of ownership cost. If you need 7 or 8 seats, buying the correct vehicle is usually cheaper than purchasing something too small and replacing it 2 years later. The Pilot suits a driver who carries grandchildren, travels with several adults, needs substantial cargo space, or wants one vehicle capable of handling most family duties. It is more cumbersome in tight parking spaces, and neglected examples can become expensive, so condition matters enormously. Number 2 is the original Toyota Venza. One of the most unusual vehicles Toyota sold during this period, and one of the most sensible choices for someone who finds both sedans and traditional SUVs uncomfortable. The Venza occupies the space between a tall wagon and a crossover. That confused buyers when it was new, but the design makes much more sense when viewed through the needs of an aging driver. A sedan may require lowering yourself into the seat and pushing upward to get back out. A truck-based SUV may require lifting your body onto a high cushion and stepping across a wide sill. The Venza avoids both extremes. Its seat is positioned at a height that allows many drivers to turn, move backward, and sit with a relatively natural motion. The doors are large, and the floor is not excessively high. For someone managing arthritis, reduced leg strength, shoulder discomfort, or a previous joint replacement, that basic design may be more valuable than panoramic screens or voice-controlled climate settings. The cabin feels open, and the sloping dashboard places many controls within easy reach. Rear passengers receive generous legroom, while the cargo area has a low loading floor that reduces the distance groceries luggage, or a folded walker must be lifted. The Venza was available with a 4-cylinder engine and a 3.5-liter V6. The V6 is usually the more appealing choice for buyers who plan to keep the vehicle for many years. It provides smoother acceleration and belongs to Toyota's widely used 2GR engine family. This does not make it immune to leaks, neglected fluids, worn accessories, or cooling system problems, but it means many independent repair shops are familiar with the powertrain. Parts are not limited to a rare one-model engine that disappeared after a few years. The 4-cylinder version may use less fuel in some conditions, but the V6 often feels better suited to the Venza's size and weight, especially with passengers or during highway travel. All-wheel drive was available, but buyers should not automatically assume it is necessary. Someone living in a mild climate who rarely encounters snow may prefer the lower complexity of front-wheel drive. Someone facing steep driveways, winter weather, or poorly maintained rural roads may appreciate all-wheel drive. Tires remain critical either way. A sophisticated drivetrain on old cheap tires provides less real-world security than a simpler vehicle equipped with high-quality tires designed for the local climate. Inspect the Venza carefully for signs of water leakage, particularly around vehicles equipped with large glass roof systems. Look for stains on the headliner, damp carpet, musty smells fogging inside the lamps, or evidence that interior trim has recently been removed. Test the power liftgate several times if equipped. Confirm that it opens fully, stays raised, responds to the buttons, and closes without reversing unexpectedly. Run the power seat through every direction and listen for straining motors. Memory seat functions are especially useful when two drivers share the vehicle because incorrect seat position can increase hip, back, and neck discomfort. The large wheels fitted to some trims may look attractive, but can reduce ride comfort and increase tire costs. A Venza on a sensible wheel and tire combination may ride better and cost less to maintain than a more expensive trim with low-profile tires. Listen for wheel-bearing noise, examine the tires for uneven wear, and check the suspension for loose or worn components. The Venza is ideal for someone who values easy entry, a calm highway ride, spacious seating, and Toyota parts availability, but does not need a third row. Its styling is not for everyone, and rear visibility is not as open as the boxy Pilot, but its overall packaging is unusually well suited to drivers who want to preserve comfort and independence. That brings us to number 1, the Lexus RX 350. Many used car buyers immediately dismiss a Lexus because they associate a luxury badge with expensive repairs, premium fuel, complicated suspension systems, and dealership-only maintenance. Those concerns can be valid with certain luxury vehicles, but the RX 350 is different from many European competitors. It was engineered around Toyota components and became one of the brand's most important family crossovers. Beneath the leather sound insulation and softer suspension is a powertrain closely related to other widely sold Toyota vehicles. That does not make every RX a bargain, but it creates an opportunity. Luxury vehicles often lose value faster than equivalent mainstream models because buyers fear future costs. When a model uses familiar mechanical components and has been maintained correctly, depreciation can work in your favor. The RX 350's greatest advantage for an older driver is its combination of accessibility and comfort. The seat is high enough to reduce the feeling of falling into a low car, yet the vehicle is not so tall that most drivers must climb into it. The sill is relatively manageable, the front doors open widely, and the power seat offers enough adjustment to accommodate different leg lengths and mobility needs. On well-equipped versions, memory settings allow two drivers to save their preferred positions. Some versions may also provide a power-adjustable steering column, which can move out of the way during entry and return to the driving position afterward. These features are not simply luxury decorations. They can reduce the amount of twisting and reaching required every time you enter the vehicle. Once underway, the RX focuses on quietness rather than sportiness. The suspension is tuned to soften rough pavement wind noise as controlled, and the seats are designed for long-distance comfort. That can make a significant difference for anyone whose back becomes sore in a stiff vehicle. The controls on older RX models are also less dependent on touchscreens than those in many new luxury SUVs. Physical buttons for common functions can be easier to operate without taking your eyes off the road. The 3.5-liter V6 provides smooth power and uses a timing chain. It has a strong reputation when maintained properly, but buyers still need to investigate oil leaks, cooling system condition, ignition components, and transmission service history. Check around the valve covers and timing cover area for seepage. A light film on a high-mileage engine is different from fresh oil collecting underneath the vehicle. Make sure the cooling fans operate, inspect the coolant for contamination, and watch the temperature gauge during the test drive. The transmission should shift almost unnoticed. Hesitation, harsh engagement, or shuddering should lead to a deeper inspection rather than a hopeful purchase. Early examples from some model years may show dashboard deterioration or cracking, especially in hot climates. Cosmetic damage may not affect how the vehicle drives, but replacement can be expensive, so the condition should be reflected in the price. Test every electrical feature because luxury equipment only feels luxurious when it works. Operate the climate control in all zones, heated and ventilated seats. If fitted mirrors, steering column controls, liftgate, sunroof audio system, navigation display, keyless entry, and parking sensors. A 10-minute inspection of electronics can reveal hundreds or thousands of dollars in future work. Also remember that the RX may require more expensive tires, brakes, and suspension components than a basic RAV4. The goal is not to pretend it costs the same as an economy car. The goal is to determine whether its additional comfort is worth a modest increase in maintenance expense. For many drivers over 60, it is. The RX 350 is best for someone who wants a refined ride, easy entry, supportive seats, a quiet cabin, and dependable everyday transportation without moving into a large truck-like SUV. It does not offer a third row in the generations most commonly found at lower used prices, and it is not designed for heavy towing or serious off-road travel. But for ordinary commuting, medical appointments, shopping, visiting family, and long highway trips, it may be the most complete vehicle on this list. These 5 SUVs prove that buying the newest vehicle is not always the same as buying the most suitable one. The RAV4 delivers compact practicality and widely supported Toyota engineering. The CX-5 gives drivers excellent visibility and easier maneuverability. The Pilot provides 3-row flexibility for families willing to accept higher fuel consumption. The Venza offers one of the most natural entry heights in the used market. And the RX 350 combines Toyota-based mechanical familiarity with the comfort and accessibility of a luxury crossover. Whichever one interests you, do not buy the model name alone. Buy the condition. Confirm the exact year, engine, drivetrain, and trim. Review maintenance records instead of accepting vague promises. Check for rust water damage, warning lights, fluid leaks, accident repairs, uneven tire wear, and neglected timing belt service where applicable. Start the vehicle when the engine is cold, drive it long enough to reach operating temperature test every major feature, and arrange an independent pre-purchase inspection. Most importantly, test the vehicle with your own body. Enter and exit it several times. Load something into the cargo area. Turn to look behind you. Adjust the seat and steering wheel. Make sure you can reach the controls without stretching. A vehicle can have a legendary reliability reputation and still be the wrong choice if it causes pain every time you use it. The best SUV for retirement is not the one that impresses strangers in the parking lot. It is the one that quietly protects your comfort, your independence, and your savings for years to come. Which of these five would you choose? The practical RAV4, the easy-to-drive CX-5, the family-sized Pilot, the accessible Venza, or the comfortable RX 350? Share your experience in the comments, especially if one of these vehicles has already served your family for many years. And subscribe for more used car guides focused on the vehicles that are dependable, affordable, and genuinely pleasant to live with.